All right.
So,
All right, we'd like to welcome everybody to Wild Wednesdays Live. We've got Raylene Salazar from Less Than Traditional Quilting. She's going to demonstrate a technique that you've probably seen at the shows, but it's always good for a refresher. So welcome, Raylene. Show us what you've got today.
hey, Beth. Hi, guys, and welcome back to the show. We hope you guys are enjoying this as much as we are. I've had a lot of people requesting, since they haven't seen me at the shows, so they haven't been able to take my class over and over again. They've asked me to do a refresher. And since I know we have a lot of new viewers on our show that haven't seen us at a show, today I'm going to do the basic technique for less than traditional. Now, this is the fastest, easiest way to do circle quilts that is easy enough for a beginner's very first project. A less than traditional comes in 4 different sizes, and that's not because some like little, some like big. As you'll see after we've done this, it really just depends on what your project is going to be. So let's get started. So right now, I'm going to be demonstrating on our large size. So if you're a beginner, you want to start with this size because larger pieces are easier to handle. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take a square of my top fabric. The top fabric is what will eventually end up in the center of our circles. I'm going to turn that around to the back side. Now I'm going to take my circle template. Now you notice this is not acrylic because this is actually to mark our actual sewing lines. Our seam allowance is included in our template, so our circles will always be the same size. I am going to line that up right in the center of the back of that fabric, and then I'm simply going to mark all the way around the edge, marking my first sewing line. Next, the pattern tells us that we need to cut a slit inside that circle. So let me get that turned right. So now I'm going to take my less than traditional ruler, and right here, there's a partial circle. I'm going to put that right on the circle that I just marked, and then it tells me to cut a slit between 2 lines here. So I can just use my rotary cutter and put that slit exactly where it needs to be, quick and easy. Now, if you're not comfortable rotary cutting, that's not a problem. You'll just use your ruler to mark that line, and then you can use your scissors to trim it out. So I've got my circle marked, I've got my slit cut, I put this to the side. Next, I'm going to take a square of my batting. Now, on this quilt, the batting is super important because it must be super thin and super lightweight, and we use Thermore. So I'm going to take a square of my batting. Then I'm going to take a square of my back fabric. Now, if it has a right or a wrong side, you want to put that right side up. Now we're going to take that square that we marked the circle and cut the slit, and we're going to put that right side down because we want our right sides of our fabrics to be together. We're going to put a few pins in to hold it, and then sew right on top of that line all the way around. Next, we need to trim our circle out, leaving just a scant 1/4 inch. So now we're going to pick up our cutting arc. It has a dotted line right on our scant 1/4 inch because we want that to be a little less than 1/4, a little more than 1/8. That way we don't have to clip our circles. So I'm going to line that dotted line right up on the seam line that we just sewed, and then I can use my rotary cutter. I just move it 3 times, 4 times around, and I can trim my circle out fast and easy. Now again, don't worry if you're not comfortable rotary cutting. You're just going to use your arc, and you'll mark the line, and then you can trim it out with your circles. Either way is fine. So once we've trimmed it out, now we have this. Now you probably already figured out why we had to put that slit. We needed a way to turn our circle right side out. But once we turn it right side out, because we sewed it inside out, it's going to have a tendency to want to curl back up inside itself. So we're going to do a couple of things to help that out. So once we turn that right side out, I always take my wonderful little purple thing tool with the curved edge, and I simply stick my hand back in the circle, and then I just run that curved edge of that purple thing along the edge of the circle to help push that seam out to its full extension. But the next step we do is the one and only thing that we're going to do by hand on our quilt. But you don't want to leave out this step because it's so important to it going together easily. So once we've turned our circle right side out, and we've pushed that circle out with our purple thing or whatever tool you choose to use, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my fingers and I'm gently going to roll back and forth. Make sure I'm doing this where you can see me. I'm going to roll back and forth, and then I'm going to hand baste along the edge to hold it turned out all the way. So basically I'm going to roll back and forth, put in 3 or 4 stitches, roll, put in 3 or 4 stitches. Now keep in mind, these basting stitches are temporary. all of you guys out there that are perfectionists, these don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be pretty. These are simply holding those circles turned out while we assemble so that all the circles will be the exact same size. Now, a couple of tips on that basting. First of all, don't knot your thread. Just leave a tail, a couple of inches at the beginning and the end. It'll make it so much easier when we take it out later if you're not searching for a knot. The basting stitch is going to stay in until your project is finished. That's your very last step. And just use a single thread. Again, a single thread will make it much easier to take it out later. And I usually like to use something that is complete contrast to whatever I'm working on. Like if I'm working on black, I might have some old fluorescent green or yellow that I bought in a bargain bin. That way I can see it easy so when I start taking it out later. So now, to make our quilt easy to handle, we work in units of 4 circles. So I have 4 circles, they're all turned, they're basted, and I'm ready to start putting it together. So I'm going to take one of those circles, and now I'm going to pick up my square template. Now this square is designed to fit right inside my finished, turned, and basted circle. So I'm going to line that up right in the center so that the point of the square goes right to the edge of the circle on all 4 sides. Then on that side where we had the slit, that's where I'm going to mark right along the edge of the template for my next sewing line. Okay. Now I'm going to pick this circle up by that slit. I'm going to pick up a second circle by the slit, and I'm going to put these back to back. Now I want to make sure that my slits are as close right on top of each other as I can get them. So I just kind of, flip it back and forth, kind of scoot it with my fingers till I'm like, okay, that's good and lined up. Then I will pin it just like the pattern shows me to pin it. And then I'm going to be ready to sew on the line all the way across. Now, once I sew on that line, let me do a little fake sewing with my pins here. Once I sew on that line and I open these 2 up, you're already going to see our pattern starting to form. You see there? More important, that slit is going to be buried underneath that flap, so we don't have to close it up because it's never going to be seen from again. So now I'm going to make another one just like this so that I have 2 units of 2 circles. So here's my 2 units of 2. I'm going to take one of those, and now I'm going to grab that less than traditional ruler once again. Now, right here in the center where we have that partial circle, right down the middle of the ruler, we've got a line. I'm going to line that up right on that seam line between the 2 circles. So I'm putting the center line of the ruler right on that center seam line. Then I'm going to push my ruler out so it's just a tiny bit past the center point. And there's even a little mark on the ruler that helps me find that. Once I've pushed it out, I want to double check I'm still right on that center seam line. And then I'm going to mark all the way along the edge of the ruler down both circles for my next sewing line. So now I'm going to take my 2 units of 2. I'm going to line those up back to back, just like we did the 2 units when we had the single circles. We're going to line those up, make sure we've got those all lined up. We're going to pin it just like the pattern shows us to pin it. And then we're going to be ready to sew on that line. Now, here's the thing on this one. Remember just now when we marked the line, we marked just a little bit past that center point because that's where we need to sew. You're probably going to have a stitch kind of hanging in the air when you get to that center point between the circles. That's okay. It's not going to show. But here's what we are going to do. We're going to start at the outside edge. We're going to back stitch to tie it off. We're going to sew until we get about 1 inch past the center. We're going to back stitch about 1 inch past the center and then come back down to the other end and back stitch to tie it off. So you'll actually be going through that center 3 times. That's where a lot of the weight of the quilt is, and that will help to reinforce it. Now when I open this up, now you really see that pattern starting to form. And we're all those flaps down right on the sewing machine. So you're going to start at any outside edge and just keep going until you end up right back where you started. Now, if I stop right now and I never work on this quilt again, no more unfinished projects. I know, how exciting is that? Because even if I stop right now, I have a completed centerpiece for the table or a wall hanging. Now, remember, I never talked about binding. That's it. This quilt has no binding. Now, I know you guys love the binding. You'll just have to bind something else. But what's really cool is if we're going to make a larger item, all we do is make another unit of 4. We'll get out our ruler to mark one edge. We're going to sew those units of 4 together the same way we did the 2 units of 2, but here's the trick. Every time you join 2 sections together, sew down those flaps. That way, whenever you stop, you are done. Even if you were going to make a king-size quilt and you ended up with a table runner, who cares? It's finished. Now, this was the most basic thing you can do. 2 colors, a light and a dark, because you want some contrast. But I can actually get 3 different quilts with these 2 fabrics. So on this one, we used our dark fabric on top. On this next one, we used the same 2 fabrics, but this time we put the light on top. And look how different it looks. But the whole idea behind Less Than Traditional was that Charlie, the designer, was looking for quicker, easier ways of doing old traditional patterns that were more intermediate to advanced. So back at the beginning, remember when I marked my circle and I cut my slit? If I did 2 on the light fabric and 2 on the dark, then I picked them up. Remember, I picked them up by the back and went back to back. If I pick up a light and put that against a dark, that's going to give me the old traditional pattern, orange peel or robbing Peter to pay Paul. And look how great that looks. And you get a little bit of an optical illusion there, like you've done some weird little interlocking. But of course, now that you guys are all professionals, you know that what created that optical illusion was simple fabrics coming around to the front. And when I flip it over, you see, we just have fabric one. Now, the way Less Than Traditional is sold is it comes in a kit. And your kit you're going to get, you get a hold of my stuff. I piled everything on it here. You're going to get your square and circle template. You're going to get your ruler, your trimming arc, and complete instructions step by step with diagrams. Each one of the 4 sizes has a kit. And just to give you an example, this is the large size kit. And that's $35. We work really hard to keep the prices down on these kits because we want everyone who wants to try this to be able to give it a try. And once you have these starter kits, there is no end to what you'll be able to do. We have lots of books and patterns out to do different variations. And real quick, I know I'm almost out of time, but just to give you an example, one of the fun things, and of course we just finished up the holidays, but we also have our flowers book that is always so popular around the holidays to do poinsettias, you can do daisies, you can do sunflowers. There's no end to the different flowers you can make. And I want to show you just one thing real fast before I go. When you make your first one, be sure to get out some scraps and just do 1 unit of 4. And then when you get it done, if you go, okay, I did a really good job on that, but I don't really have a place for it on the wall or on a table, well, you can make yourself a pillow wrap by simply using a 12-inch pillow form, a couple of pieces of Velcro. We turn that over and we just wrap it up like a burrito. Okay, we're just going to wrap it up, stick it with the Velcro, and then we have a totally machine washable and dryable pillow. So that's what I had to share with you today. So I'm going to turn it back over to Beth. All these items are on our website, including a video that you can watch again when you have a little more time. And of course, if you have any questions, you can always email me right through the website.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Raylene. That was exciting. It's always good to get a refresher. And like Peggy mentioned, she said she's bought the rulers from you and the templates from you. So it's great to have a refresher. And if they want, they can also go, if they miss any of the Wednesdays, they can go to the YouTube channel, can't they? And see it on the
yes, they
Wild
can.
Wednesdays Live. So that perfect. And they can save 20% if they place an order before midnight tomorrow for all of our vendors tonight, except for the Thimbles. Jan with the perfect. So lots of savings if you place your order by tomorrow. And next we have up Sue with Sue's Sparkles. All right. Okay. Do we have Sue?
Ready.
Is Sue ready? Perfect. Welcome, Sue.
Hey, how's everybody today? If anybody saw the last demo that I did, I made this red sweatshirt with the freezer applique snowflakes. And so that is what you're seeing on this sweatshirt right here. And it turned out really pretty because when you spray paint white on a sweatshirt, it looks like fleece afterwards. Well, today we're going to work on a butterfly neckline design. This is probably one of our most popular necklines that we have. And so it'll show up better when I turn the camera down. Okay, so we're going to get started on this. We're going to spray paint the stencil on there, and then we're going to add the iron-on design afterwards. Okay, so the first thing I like to do is I spray painted the front of this shirt because I hate for a shirt to just stay plain white, because to me that just looks boring. And since the colors I'm going to use in here are kind of this dark pink, I sprayed it real lightly to that pink. And so I'm going to show you how you can spray paint a background of a shirt real quick. And all we do when we make up our own spray paint is just mostly water and acrylic paint. And I have YouTube videos on my website that will show you how to make paint. Okay, so take your bottle, shake it up good. And what you do to spray lightly is just stand back farther from your project. So if you stand back farther and then just lightly spray, you're just going to get that coloring in the back, which takes just away from being just a solid plain white. So I think it just adds a lot of pretty color to it. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over and we're going to spray a stencil on the front. But I don't want to spray in through the neckline. So I'm going to put a napkin inside the neckline, because what I found is if you spray paint and there's only one layer, that sometimes you'll get an impression on the back. So I want to make sure I don't get that impression back there. So I take my stencil, which at this time is a dragonfly stencil, because we have dragonflies and butterflies in the design. And I'm going to put it right up across the top, because I want this dragonflies to just kind of be underneath the iron-on design when I put it there. But you don't want to spray paint in the square edges of the stencil, because that would make you look homemade. So if you take newspaper, put along the edges, take these really expensive fabric weights, put them at the bottom, that will hold the paper in place. And you can tell I use my paper over and over again. It's got a lot of paint on it. To just put the paper into place. Now I think I'm going to run up right against my tripod, which will be fine. We'll just hold it right there. There, and one more piece of paper. And I find it's easier if you cut the newspaper down a little bit. It doesn't take up as much room on your table when you're working on it. Not that it's a big deal. Okay, so now what we're going to do is spray paint a little bit heavier, because I do want the dragonflies to show up. But I don't want them to be overwhelming to the design. So I'm not going to spray real heavy. Just so you get the idea that those dragonflies are on there. And there's no sense spray painting the dragonflies that are going to fall inside that neckline, because that way you're just wasting paint. Okay, so now take a paper towel, napkin, whatever, and wipe off your washers, which are what I use for my weights. You can get them at Home Depot. They make great weights for holding down fabric pieces, anything. I use them all the time when I'm sewing and holding down fabric or pattern pieces, because it's a lot easier than pinning everything. Okay, take your paper off careful, because you have wet edges, and just lay it aside, because they're just going to dry really fast on the newspaper. Okay, now take your stencil over to a stash of newspaper, and take that paper towel again and just wipe off your stencil. As long as the holes stay open and clear, it doesn't matter if the paint discolors the stencil. It's just going to give it a prettier color. One time I had a lady ask me if you could paint plastic, spray paint plastic. And I looked at my stencil that I used over and over again, and I said, well, if you let the paint dry on the plastic, you have now spray painted plastic. Okay, so now we have the design right here, just following the neckline, the dragonflies, which are really pretty. The design that I'm working with is this one, And what I like to do is trim out the neckline piece right there, because otherwise all that clear sticky wants to stick to the shirt and it makes it hard to kind of pick it up and move it around and place it. So that's what I did here. And also this is a V neckline and this is a U neckline shirt. I choose neck designs if I'm going to combine or transfer them from being a round neckline into a V neckline. I always pick a design where you can cut easily, like there's kind of individual pieces to the design. Otherwise, if you choose something that is all lined up, there's no way that you can cut it apart and change a round neck into a V neck. So if you ever want to do that, you just have to pay attention to what you're working on there. And I like to tell people that it is very helpful to test your iron. Everybody's iron, look at me. What? Turn it. Everybody's iron is different. So I always tell people you can test your iron. And how you test your iron is this way. Okay, so that neckline that we cut out is this piece. Take your clear piece, put it on your fabric, and your iron is on a wool setting, dry iron. Just let your iron sit there for a couple seconds. Do you see the little bit of rippling that's in the design? You can see a little rippling there and a little rippling right in there. If your iron stays perfectly flat, your iron is not warm enough. If it looks like you're getting that little bit of rippling like what I'm showing you right here, then your iron is just right. If it looks like the edges are shrinking, then you are starting to melt the plastic and your iron is too hot. Okay, this only takes a couple seconds. You can put it just on the edge of a design when you put it on your shirt, and right away you can see if you've got just that little bit of rippling. Okay, and that means that your iron is good. Okay, so what I did here was, so that I wouldn't take time off while I was making the design right here, I laid it out. And another thing I like to do is to mark the center of the design, because in that way I can look at the center of the shirt and it just makes it easier to line up. Any visual clues that you can give yourself just always makes it easier. So what I did was I cut off the top piece of the butterfly here, and I took a friction pen and I marked the corners of where I'm going to place this design, because I have a tendency when I start to talk, I forget what I'm doing, and then I make a mistake later on that I can't fix because this is a permanent process. So I marked it ahead of time. So don't forget to peel off the backing, the white paper backing of the design. If you iron the backing to the design like this, you have now made a wall hanging, and you would really rather wear it than make a wall hanging. And if you're ever doing individual designs, keep in mind placement can be everything. We don't want to put a design like right here, because unless you put designs all over, they're always going to see that one little butterfly that got stuck right there. So placement can be everything. Okay, so we're going to put our design right where I lined it up right there. And because I'm ironing onto plastic tables, I have worked all the plastic tables that I've ever worked with. So I put a cutting board to make myself a nice hard flat surface, because that is what you want. And when I place my iron, now I'm going to take this part of the design off so that I don't accidentally make a mistake. And the iron, like I said, is on a wool setting, dry iron. The iron sits here for a full 60 seconds, and it can sit there longer, but 60 seconds is the minimum. It takes that long for the heat and the glue to get melted to adhere to your shirt. I know this makes you nervous. Anytime you're working on a white fabric, you want to really watch your time. If you're doing on anything red, blue, black, purple, gray, your iron could sit there for 15 minutes. A wool setting is not that hard. And ask me how I know why you can let the iron sit there for 15 minutes. I have to set timers when I'm cooking, because otherwise I walk away and I tend to forget that I'm cooking. This is much more lenient, but if you're doing white, pay attention to when you're doing white fabrics, because you don't want to mess up your white fabric and scorch it. White's the easiest thing to scorch, so you do want to pay attention. Okay, I haven't been timing myself. I don't know how long this is. I'm thinking this has probably been about a minute. And you always get written instructions with any project, so don't worry about that. So once the iron is set there long enough, and I think you can still see that little rippling, and my iron might have been a little warm there. I can see where it might have looked like it shrank a little bit. Irons are like toasters. You don't get perfect toast every time, so keep in mind an iron is a small electrical appliance. So once you've let your iron sit there long enough, take the front half of your iron, press down in small sections at a time. That will make up for different size pieces, different heights of pieces that might be in your design. Okay, so we're just going to press it down all over. Okay, now what you do is you wait for the plastic to cool. And if you move it from the surface of where you ironed it, it'll cool off faster. And if you put your hand between the front and the back, you've separated it from the warm back, it'll cool off faster. And also, because the glue is really good, if you're working on a thin garment or something that is lighter weight, you can actually glue the front to the back of the shirt. Makes it much harder to wear. So if you put your hand in there right away after you get done pressing, it'll make it cool off faster, and you'll make sure that nothing is sticking behind there. Okay, so we'll get rid of that. We will take this, put it back over here on the table. I always like working on a table so I can spread everything out, makes everything handier. So when the plastic is cold, the glue is cold. So you peel off the plastic. Now, if any pieces are still sticking to the plastic, you need to lay the plastic back down again and re-iron. All we're doing here is melting glue. If you don't melt the glue, it won't be permanent. That's all there is to any of the projects that I do. Okay, so now how do you know it's securely bonded? By looking at it, yes, it looks very secure, but you can put this in the washer and the dryer, so you really want to make sure. And if you give it as a gift, you want to make sure that it's launderable also. So you rub it up and down, back and forth, do it harder. See if you feel any edges that are lifting. Then you go for fingernails. I'm not sure if you can hear this or not, but we are not pansies when it comes to checking with our fingernails. Okay? Really, really check it. If you launder this, and after you launder it, if you kind of run your hand over it, notice any loose pieces, re-iron. This is never a project that can be totally done and not redone to make it a little better. Okay? And one of the shirts we did last time also, they said it wasn't very easy to see it. This was kind of a medium color blue sweatshirt, and we did navy blue spray paint on top of the freezer paper snowflakes. So you can see how subtle this is. It's a very subtle look. I really like it. It's pretty. Some people don't like a lot of sparkle and a lot of stuff, and this just makes a really subtle idea. And that is all I have for you today. I'm hoping you like the projects that I come up with. I love what I do. And any questions, you can get my email, info@SueSparklers, off my website, and also those YouTube videos that I talked about. And I'm out.
Thank you so much, Sue. That was great. I think that the ladies love being inspired and seeing new projects, especially something that's quick and easy. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. I just want to remind everybody that you can go to the Quilt Craft and Sew Mall, and for all the vendors that you're seeing today, you can use the discount code WW20 and receive 20% off. And please, please, please share with your friends and others that have interest in quilting and sewing and crafting, because the vendors really do need all the support that we can give them. All right, next up we do have a bunch of good giveaways, but I don't want to tell you about them yet. I'm going to wait till after Linda, because Linda has got some things to show us. So Linda, what do you have? Oops, you're muted. Wait, turn your mic on. Turn your up. All right. So until she turns on her mic, I'll keep talking. So once again, I want to remind you that we have a YouTube channel. So if you ever miss a Wednesday live, you can always go to our YouTube channels and watch it.
Okay.
Hey, Linda, how are you? Oops.
Now?
Wait, there you are.
How
are you doing?
Wonderful.
How was your Christmas?
Very busy. All right. So I have this
Good.
mask on. I'm going to take it
Perfect.
off so I'm not talking and breathing in. Can you all see how when I breathe, I'm sucking in this mask? We don't want to do that. So, okay.
Yes.
So my Christmas was wonderful. Very relaxing for like a minute, but not really. So it's never slow. It's never relaxing here. So, but it was very nice. It was nice to be home and not be sick this year. So I'm always sick at Christmas. Anyway, hi guys. I'm Linda Winner with Winner, W-I-N-N-E-R, Winner, opposite of loser, winnerdesigns.com. And many of you know me from Martelli too. I'm Martelli's educator. I've been with him forever and I miss doing trade shows and miss seeing you guys. So I'm so excited though to be here and to be a part of this. We're going to be doing stay safe or staying safe in 2021. You know, everybody's like all excited that 2020 is behind us soon, but it doesn't matter because we're still going to have 2020 stuff going on in 2021. So I want to talk about staying safe, whether you believe in the virus, whether you believe in wearing masks or not. In a lot of places, it's the law or it's a requirement. So I want to talk a little bit about that too. But I also want to talk about at this time of the year, because I mentioned I'm always sick at Christmas time because I'm around everybody. This year I wasn't around anybody, so I didn't get sick. But one of the things that we all probably carry in our purses are these tissues. And I know you guys have made these cute little tissue holders before. These guys here. So I want to show you a way to make these, but fast and easy so you can knock these things out. If you guys have made them, I'm going to have Tina just show several of them. Here's one, here's another. You can see this one's bigger because the Kleenex inside is a little bit bigger. This one was done with selvages. The selvage, I love that. This guy here is just a plain old doggy fabric, but when you look at the back of this, can you see how I've got this nice face from Frozen featured as a centerpiece? And then I love the fabric here that's basically stop, stay away, turn around, go slow because of cold, germs, those kinds of things. So if you guys have made these before, I want to very quickly just kind of remind you of what we're going to be doing. Most of you have been told measurements and you'd use a ruler and you'd hope that it would move on you. Or maybe you've printed something out from the internet and you trace that. What I want to show you instead is we're going to use the no slip material. These guys here, you can see when I move this, it grabs. Now I have 4 or 6 layers. I'm not really sure how many, but you can cut up to 8 layers here. Cut, turn. I'm using Martelli's rotary cutter, which I absolutely love. And you can see how quick that is for me to cut these pieces. And again, I think I have 6 layers there. When we cut these, you need 2 sizes. Can you all see they're the same width, but one is taller? What that's going to allow me to do is get 2 pieces like this. Now, in a minute, I'm going to talk about this fussy cut frame because I talked about where did she go? This little guy here, this is perfectly centered. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But basically, once I get the smaller piece and the larger piece is going to give me, it looks like a binding, my faux binding there. So I'm going to stitch. I love using a serger for this project because it stitches up so fast. But again, depending on how big your tissues are, your tissues come fatter, taller, bigger than the other. So you'll have to kind of play with your seam allowance a little bit. And that's built into this. So if you need it to be a little bit smaller, you'll use a wider seam allowance. But we're going to stitch with the 2 edges lined up. And then we're going to grab these 2 pieces of fabric. This would be stitched. And we're going to stitch those sides. You guys have probably done this before. It's nothing new. What I've done is just made it faster, easier because of the templates. When you do that, it's going to give me, again, that faux binding. If we look right here, this is a schnauzer. My sister loves schnauzers. She has a ton of them. I shouldn't say a ton, but she's had schnauzers forever. Let's pretend that I have something amazing with my fabric. Right here, I've got cheese. I want to have it in the center so it shows on the back side in the center. I've added hash marks here. You'd simply fold your fabric in half. so that I'd see a fold and I'd see a fold. When you position this where they're lined up on the folds, then this guy goes inside. I pop that, and we would only be doing one layer at a time right now. By the way, I've got a bunch of fabric, but you see how that would grab? And that's going to let me put the schnauzer or her right in the center, so it gets it perfectly aligned. You can see when I stitch these two sides together here, I use the serger for this. So when I stitch that together, I press so that I've got the same amount of the faux binding here and here. And then what we'll do here is press with my edges together. Just give this a finger press. I have a really cool tool. Where is it? My finger press that Philip made me. I love these things because see what that's doing? That gives me a really nice crease. And then now I can line this up to the fold, and I line that up to the fold, and either at the serger or the sewing machine, I'm going to stitch and I'm going to stitch. That turns into this. Because this has a raw edge, I want to do pinked here or the serged edge. The serged edge will give me a nice finish. This one I did at the sewing machine. When I turn this right sides out, what that's going to give me is that faux binding look and my little tissue holder. Now this gives me a flat edge once you poke out those corners. I can do that and it looks like these and it looks like this. So, oops, let's see, where's my finished that's not here? See how that's flat? But I can also do a box pleat if I want to. That box pleat we'd simply grab when we do our corners. And you guys know how to do a box pleat most likely. I'm going to line this up where I'm lining that up, and I would stitch this down on all four of those corners, and that goes from here to here. So it's a fast, easy way for you to make a nice little tissue holder for somebody that, you know, is carrying a purse these days or that's out and about. These go in a backpack, so they go to school, they go wherever it is. They're super fast, super easy to whip up. And again, play with your fabric so you can really have fun with these things. So that's kind of one way for you to deal with staying safe. Keep those germs at bay. I'm going to be showing you in another video how to take hand sanitizers. I wanted to do it today, but there's so much to cover, and you can see how these are just 3 sizes, and none of these are typical of the hand sanitizers that we get. So I want to show in another video how to do hand sanitizers and have a little carrier. So that's something that's coming. But I want to talk face masks. When I made face masks before, I would send them out to people in a baggie like this. And what I've done is basically a Ziploc baggie. I have the mask. I have this to throw in the washer. And it was good to go. That's not so pretty, and it's not that practical when you're out in the public. So my friend Shirley came up with the idea of making a mask keeper. That's what this is. And that was done with this template. The mask keeper creates a cute little zipper bag, and you can add a little carabiner if you want to, like I've done here, to clip onto a backpack or onto your belt loop or onto a purse. But you can also add some embellishment on here. And if you don't carry a purse, then this can be for your mask, and you can add a little pocket and put your keys on here too. But you can see there, this could clip on to, again, whatever it is. But this will hold your mask. That's done with this template. This template, it's just like the others where it has that no slip material, but you can see I've added a zipper at the top. Zippers really are pretty easy when you're doing a curve. What you want to think about though with your zippers is finding a zipper that's flexible. Some of the really decorative, pretty zippers, they're stiff, so they don't go around the curve as well. So these are a lot of fun to keep the mask in. So when you're out, and you've got to put a mask on, you've got a place to pull that mask from. Or you can make this for you to put your dirty mask inside of too. So your mask keeper holds your masks for the time when you need to wear that mask. And if you're like Philip, who doesn't want to wear a mask at all, I'm always carrying his mask. So when we go somewhere, I'm pulling out a mask and saying, here, put this mask on. So I want to talk masks for a minute, and I'm going to have Tina zoom up to here. If you guys saw my video that I did way back in like April, it was called Fastest, Easiest Masks Ever, Face Mask Ever. And I showed that. Oh my goodness, the amount of response that I got from that video was just crazy. I was using my rectangle templates. They come in all these different sizes, 5x7, 6x8. 7x9, 8x10. These guys here, they make little kid masks. Here's a little kid mask. And what I've done is just folded the fabric and then did a little pocket here. So it whips up really, really fast. This one I did on a serger, but I did this at the sewing machine. Here's another one that doesn't even have a pocket. This is for a little bit older kid. Then we've got another one. And if you notice, this one looks like it's upside down, because when you wear this mask, you're going to put it around your neck and up over your head. Go watch that video so you can see how this style is a little bit different. I used the paracord instead of the all of the elastics that really hurt my ears. So I don't like wearing the elastic. So I like the paracord. And if you notice what I have here, these little guys here, these squeeze. So these cord stops, they squeeze, and you can put your cording in there. I want to give you a little trick for the cording. You can use something like this. You can also use the, and I'm trying to find it, the bread ties. I had Tina run and grab a bread tie a little while ago, but you can use bread ties. And when you use a cording or bread tie or whatever it is, place this right inside of here if it's the elastic. And then you can even make your own with these little beads. For the elastic, this will go in here. A bread tie is going to fit better inside of here. But if you notice what I'm doing, that allows me to put that on here. So if I am going to wear elastics around my ear, I can make the elastic a little bit longer and make it adjustable. I'll show you one of those in just a minute. But the cord stops, they work the same way. I would take this, place it around here, and then it would go into one of these cord stops. The cord stops come in all different colors and different styles. You can see there's one style here. There's all these others are different styles. So these guys are available, and they're like, to me, a really practical thing to do. You can also get things like this. Again, that's what I just made here with this little guy. Those are those pony beads. But you can buy these ready to go. I have them on my website. I have these on my website too. If you're going to wear masks and you're not crazy about the whole concept of masks, or you're really serious about it, then put one of the pins on. I don't know if you guys have seen these, but these I think are really cool too, to be able to show, hey, I got a sense of humor, or I'm serious about this stuff. So those are kind of fun to do too. So again, this stuff here, I mentioned before that this face mask that I had got lots of attention. This guy here is a fussy cut frame. This fabric, it's not available anywhere anymore. So don't even think about calling and saying, Linda, I need some, because this is all I have left. But do you see how I can frame this out? And when I get exactly what it is that I want, that template goes inside, and then I cut and I get it perfectly every single time. You guys have probably worn the masks and made the masks with the pleats. And those are done with these templates that Martelli makes. And those at the very beginning were pretty good. But these pleats, they messed up my machine big time. So I didn't like making those. For Martelli, we started making these. And we made a ton of these for the military. So they were really hard pressed to find these. So a lot of people printed out the templates, but what we did was we made the templates. We have a small, medium, and a large. And what that allows you to do is zip these up really fast, but they're going to be fitted to your face. And if you notice what I did here with the fabric, you can fussy cut just by placing this. When you look at this, this is where that seam allowance is going to go. So when you place it on your fabric, you're basically going to be looking to see, do I have enough fabric here? Imagine I had something really pretty on here. Do I want it like this? Do I want it like this? If you need to fold where that design is and put that crease and fold, imagine I have something amazing right where this plus is that I just made. Then I can basically look to see, here's my seam from my nose, there's to my chin, and I want that to be in the center. So you can do things like this for little kids. If kids are sick of wearing masks, we'll make the masks fun for them. Use a different fabric, because the fabric will make all the difference. So again, this fabric, all the phone calls that I had, it was just the fabric. It wasn't the style. That's the style I like to wear. Let me pull this down and show you how this goes on. This goes here around your neck. You're going to pull it up. and I'm going to gather this. This goes over like this. And with that cord stop, I'm basically going to fit this to my face. I want to gather this up. Remember earlier when I was breathing in and I was sucking in that mask? When I get this fitted, because it started as a rectangle, but I fitted it to my face, I can make this so I've got plenty of room. So it's not sucking in to my mouth as I'm talking, which to me is a big deal. Because if you have to wear a mask all the time, you're probably used to it, but it drives me crazy. So I want a mask that's fitted. So with that in mind, Martelli, by the way, if you're someplace safe and you still need to have your mask on, you can wear around your neck like this. I had a lot of people that said, it's not safe. You've got germs here. Well, then I can leave this around my head and keep that down around my neck, kind of bunched up like that. You get the idea. So Martelli came up with a 3D mask. And the 3D mask was not their design. They found somebody that sent them basically this. Tina, how are we doing in time? Oh, okay. So, we're not showing. Okay. So sorry, guys. I don't know how much time I have.
I don't even know if we're filming.
So, well, shoot. We don't even know if we're on. So anyway, this mask turned into these. And these turned into these. These are fitted masks. And remember earlier when I talked about that guy there goes around your ear. And you can adjust it. But what I like to do too is instead of having this, I like to have these much longer. This is way too big. And you put this on your face. And then you grab your hair clip. One of these guys. And grab it there. That way I have nothing around my ears. So face masks 3D. That's what these guys are. Face masks that are fitted. That's what these are. You all know there are lots of different patterns out there. If you're going to be making face masks, then you've got all these different options. I want to show you another face mask too. This is the one that Philip likes to wear because it's one layer of fabric. He only does it because it's the law. He doesn't care about whether he's going to get sick or not because he thinks he's invincible. You know, most men like that. Well, that's done with this or it's done with this. And it's just a piece of fabric that's cut. And when we put this on, this is going to grab your ear. This is going to grab your ear. And when you have your ear in there, you'll get that fitted. And it's just a simple mask. So it's really just for the rules rather than anything else. All right. So we don't know if we're filming or not. We don't know how much time we've gotten. So we've kind of lost all communication. I am going to set up an iPad for next week so I can see what's going on and see how much time I have. But I do want to show you this. My website is winterdesigns.com. You guys know about in the shopping mall. But this WWL, I have a 20% discount. I set it to go off at 11:30 p.m. Central Time Friday rather than Thursday. So I've given you an extra day. You get 20% off of your price if you decide you want to buy anything. Okay, so since I don't know what's going on, if I do have communication or not, I'm going to go ahead and say thank you guys for watching, and I'm fingers crossed that you got to see this. We'll see you next Wednesday where I'll be back again, and check out my Facebook page too. Bye.
Perfect, Linda. That was great. I love the mask keeper. I never know if I should like interrupt and talk while you're talking.
Yes,
interrupt me.
Great. Yes,
the ladies loved it. Lots of comments you can go back and read. They're all hooked on you.
Thank
you. The mask keeper is a fabulous idea because you throw it in your purse and it's in there with like last week's eggs. You know
exactly last week's eggs. Yes.
Yeah, but and masks are a thing that aren't going to be going away. So I think, yeah, it's worth the investment to buy the templates and make cool ones that you really are going to enjoy wearing.
Yeah, and again, play with your fabric. I didn't show, but I had Valentine's fabrics. I did the red and black buffalo for men. A friend of mine loves whales, so I found this fabric for her. I love the little mermaid fabric for kids. So there's just so many different choices out there, and fabric will make it successful and make it exciting. So anyway, I ran over, so sorry about that.
No, that's fine. That's fine. The ladies love you. All right, we will see you soon. I'm excited to see the sanitizer, whatever templates you're coming up with that. That's going to be exciting.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, thank you. Have a great week. All right, I'm going to give you guys the code now. We've got several drawings that are coming up, which is really exciting. But you do need to check back on our website on our Facebook page to see who the winner is. But so we've got Sue from Sparklers is giving a dragonfly stencil. Linda's doing a mask and keeper template. Jan's doing a ring thimble. And Raylene's doing the extra small, less than traditional kit and a seam allowance ruler set. So that's pretty exciting. So you're going to want to write down this code right now. Comment goodbye 2020. And I'm sure none of us can get rid of it soon enough. So the code for this week's raffle drawing is goodbye 2020. So just type that in, and then Raylene will pick a winner and post it on the Facebook page tomorrow. So you do need to come back and check to see if you're a winner, and then follow the directions in the post to claim your prize by tomorrow at midnight. All right, so next we have Jan with Thimbles for You, and she's going to show us her custom work and how she makes the thimbles. And I do believe she lives kind of rurally, so we might have a little bit of glitchiness. All right, Jan, how are you? Uh-oh. I think she's frozen.
Can you hear me?
Almost. We can almost hear you. It's the beauty of going live.
I'm trouble hearing you too. Yeah, I know. I've been having trouble hearing you too, so I'm not sure. Is it breaking up much?
It is breaking up quite a bit. It's probably your internet connection, maybe.
I had a hard time hearing you too. We had a blizzard, so lots of snow.
Yeah, it's amazing how the weather will affect it. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to you, and we're going to hope for the best.
All right, well, you can watch. If you can't hear everything, you'll be part of it. I am a silversmith, sterling silver thimbles. The thimbles are all solid sterling silver. I do my own casting in my studio outside. And so I'm a very busy girl. I keep things moving. Today, I wanted to show you some of my thimbles and some of my other sewing tools. I have over 600 different styles and sizes of thimbles and sewing tools. So you should be able to see a few here. And then I'm going to show you the difference between the tall ones and the short ones, and the open ones and the closed ones, to make some choices about what you might want to do. So when I bring along all my displays to a quilt show, the small ones are always in the front, and are in the back. And so each row has rows of the same style, but the smaller ones are in the front and the larger ones are in the back. Most of my styles have about 12 different sizes in each one. Some are a few more and some a few less. I've got a little delay here, so I'm struggling to keep up with my thing. Thimbles should fit very snugly. Your fingers should go solidly in. It should be tight enough that when you dangle it or hold it upside down, it doesn't fall off. Sometimes it takes a minute or two for a while. If you have a brand new thimble that you haven't ever used before, you should put it on and wear it first before you ever start to sew with it, because you want to make sure that your brain knows that it's on and it's going to be part of your finger. It's a shield and a protection thing for your finger. It works for you before you start trying to sew with it. So the way that we sew with the thimble is we take a needle and put it straight into the fabric, put the thimble on the end of the needle, and then just tip the needle over. Now you can see one here, just pushing from the end of the thimble, and I'm making really long what I'm doing, but that you're not grasp the thimbles or the needle so tight anymore. You're using the power, the thimble to push it through. You right up to your thumb on the same finger and then push it back down and up and down and up and down. And so people do their quilting. Different kinds of thimbles are used for different things. This particular thimble is a quilting thimble. It has a rim on the top. We call that the quilting rim. And we call the part at the top here the nail guard. It guards my fingernail so I don't accidentally put a needle up under fingernail. So that's the nail guard. I like to show you a lot of different kinds and styles of thimbles. That one that I had on was the thistle, and this one is much shorter. The shorter thimble that's called a hen and chicks. It's a hen and chick thimble. It's very short, but it really sticks to the end of your finger. So if you get your finger up inside there, you eliminate any air pockets or air bubbles that might be in there, and then push it on nice and tight. You should be able to, again, turn it upside down and dangle it. It shouldn't fall off and upside down. And then you get a hold of your needle, and you should be able to sew just fine with that. Now, a lot of the shorter thimbles are used for doing bindings. If you're doing a bind, you probably won't hit place that you would if you were doing a regular quilting. So you'll often hit with that corner. Can you see that corner of the thimble that's doing there? Hit with the corner and pull it through. And it's often just one stitch at a time when you're doing a hem on garment sewing. You get just one stitch at a time. Usually you're hitting, see that little corner right there? You're hitting that one little corner, but it's on really tight. See how it all over this is still stuck. Push it on through, and that's what that looks like. So this one is the hen and chicks thimble. It's a very short thimble. I wear my thimble on my middle finger. Some people wear their thimbles on different fingers. This is another style with a little bit wider nail spot. This is a little bit easier for me to use because my nail is fairly wide. So each person is different. The back of this thimble is very short, so it's very comfortable. And you can see that the heart part kind of comes in against your finger, your nail bed on your finger. And so that feels like it's really going to stick on there. Again, these are often used for hemming. Like this, you'll take one stitch and push it through, and one stitch and push it through. And so you don't keep your needle stuck in the same dimple on your thimble all the time, but you can see you can move it around quite a bit. And oftentimes you even keep it stuck, the needle stuck into one of the dimples when you're just lining it up. So it follows all the way through. You might hit more than one dimple or the same dimple. Again, is the lily of the valley. It has a little lily of the valley and a butterfly on the front. It's all worked into a heart, and then there's lily of the valley growing all the way around the back side of this one. And it's a very short thimble. The next was the queen bee. This is one that I worked on for a long time. I do all my own silversmithing. I do all the myself. I work in a CAD program, a computer assisted design. And so I tried to work out what the bee would look like, and the wreath and the leaves around the bottom of the bee. This one has a kind of a tall nail guard on the back. You can see there's a nice deep place for the needle to stick. So as you push the needle through, if I can get it in a spot so y'all can see, there we go. As you push the needle through, you can push with the end like that, or you can just line it up so you're on the side of the needle each time too, and push it through with the side. Okay, so that's the third one. Her name is Queen Bee. It has more of a vintage look. And again, it's a very short thimble. This one has a fairly curved lower part of the wreath, and so it can be used on a thumb. My thumb is too big for this size, but there are other sizes in each one of these. There's 12 sizes in the Queen Bee, so we'll be working on this one quite a lot. This is my favorite, the last binding that I had to do was on a denim quilt for my son. And I did binding this robin's nest thimble. It has a robin feeding her children in a nest on the front, and then all the way around the back. So she's up, her nest goes all the way around, and she's up in a tree in her nest feeding her babies. The leaves on the back provide some really nice dimples and creases for things to be pushed with. And so it's a nice one to be able to hang on with your thumb just a little bit here and push with the needle to get it through. Got a nice push there. That's what the thimble is for. It's meant to be a guard to this finger so you don't dig big holes in your fingers. So those are the 4 short ones. There's 4 fairly short thimbles there. The medium size, this was my very first design. When I started doing my thimble myself, this is the first design that I did. It's an acorn. An acorn itself is a gemstone. And this one has some nice deep leaves in the back again. Leaves that provide creases and crevices and cracks for things for your needle to stick in. So it can be used both for quilting like this. Stand up your needle in the top, put your thimble on top of that needle, tip it over, providing a little bit of strength. And then just up and down, rocking it up and rocking it back down. And so eventually it comes out the other end, and you pull it again with your index finger so you get it back out. So this is a nice for both quilting and for hemming and doing all sorts of hand stitching. It's a really nice all-around thimble. The other thing that's very interesting about this one is here is a very round thimble. And then here's my acorn thimble, and you can see it's not round shape. And so depending on the size and shape of your finger, you'll have to make your choices. The acorn one is quite oval shaped. And this is called the garden bee, and it's very long top thimble. Goes clear down on my knuckle. It feels good that way, but there is some air up inside there. And so in general, we don't like there being any air because that allows you to move around a little bit. But with the nail thimbles, you can do it completely with no air because you can get it all the way in there. The closed, our fingers are usually not built in a perfect cylinder like thimbles are. Harder to get it air free. So that's that one. Another nice round thimble. This one has a quilt rim on top as well. This one is called the flower basket. It kind of named after the Baltimore quilts that are done. Basket on top. I hope you can see this. Again, the quilt rim is really handy for doing actual quilting. You set the needle in like that. Put your thimble right on top of it, kind of rest it on your finger underneath. And then just tip it over and push, 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 push to get your thumb under the other end so that you've got nice even stitches at the end. Push it clear through, pull it out, and start your next round. So this is a really nice one. Has a quilt rim up, and it's a really pretty thimble. So that's how we do a little bit of quilting. I have a number of thimbles on my website. I have over 600 different sizes and styles for you to choose from. If you have any questions or problems, please go to thimblesforyou.com. There is a contact note right there, and you can send questions anytime. I get a lot of them every day, and I'm more than happy to send a personal response back to each one. Thank you for coming.
Perfect, Jan. There's one question that I think everybody has is, now that we're not at shows and we're not right there to try on the perfect size and get the fit, how do you suggest that they do that?
We really have been struggling during the COVID because that was the blend that we could all try them on when we were at a show. But right now, what I'm doing is asking you to measure We measure around the cuticle or the nail bed on your finger. Usually you cut a little 1/4 of an inch wide piece of paper and wrap it all the way around. Make it into a loop that stays on there. It's not sliding all over. It's not way too big. It's not way too small. And cut it, lay it on the ruler, and measure that length in millimeters. So that's the circumference or the distance all the way around the base of your nail. Number that we need to measure your finger and your fingernail. There's a second measurement that I often like, which is the largest part of your. So if you look right here, that's the largest knuckle. I would measure again, wrap a piece of paper all the way around there, and then cut it off, lay on a ruler, measure it. That will tell me this time and a half and then a size 7. And so then I make up a box of several different thimbles, up to 10 or 12, and I will ship those out to you, and you can try them all on for a few days. You can use them at home where you're relaxed and comfortable and it's easy. And then you ship back the ones that you don't want, and you set a really long flow sheet of thimbles that are going to the studio every day. So your name could be on there if you want. Does that?
Yeah. Well, you keep breaking in and out. So what I'm going to suggest is because we've got several ladies that are asking, I think everybody just email your questions to Jan and she'll answer you individually. And then I think we'll schedule Jan to come back when there's not a blizzard so that we don't have the in and out breaking up. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Jan, so much for joining us. It was fun to see you again, and we will see you soon. All right. Thank you. All right, I just want to remind everybody to type in for the raffles. Type in Goodbye 2020 if you haven't already. You don't need to do it more than once because you're only going to get entered once. So just type in Goodbye 2020 to be entered in the raffles. And then remember to check back tomorrow before midnight to let us know, follow the directions to claim your prize. And we want to thank all the vendors for all of their fabulous demonstrations. And we also want to thank all of you for joining and watching us because it's really what we as vendors need is all of your support. So thanks again for joining us. And we will see you next Wednesday for Wild Wednesday Live. And you can purchase, remember, from till tomorrow at midnight, you get 20% off with the coupon code WW20. So WW20 will get you 20% off, not with Jan because her thimbles are really labor intense. So just email her personally for anything you're interested in. And we will see you next week. Have a fabulous week and a happy new year. Thank you.